Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at noon starts now.
When will high school sports resume? The Michigan High School Athletic Association discussing the current pause on winter sports. The U.S. is a step closer to a third coronavirus vaccine, but is it as effective? Johnson & Johnson has released data from its single-dose vaccine trial. And a young boy hospitalized after being mauled by a dog. What we're learning about the attack. And that attack does top our news this noon. I'm Rhonda Walker, and thank you for joining us. The young boy is only 5 years old, and he was attacked by this dog on Detroit's west side early this morning at a home. Priya Mann is following this story for us. Tell us more about the attack, and more importantly, how's that little boy doing?
Well, Rhonda, thankfully that little boy is expected to survive, but truly terrifying moments in this Detroit neighborhood. Take a look at new video just into our newsroom showing several of those dogs being taken away by animal control. Here's what Detroit police is telling us. Around 6 this morning, that 5-year-old boy was visiting this home at Long Acre in West Chicago. He was feeding 5 large dogs with the owner of those dogs, who's a 36-year-old man. That man left the room for a few minutes, came back and saw 2 of his dogs mauling that child. Now, while trying to rescue the kid, the man was bit on his arms and hands. The child was bit all over his body and legs. Animal control took all 5 dogs, and now child abuse and animal control are both investigating. Now, this morning, Detroit police are telling us that little boy, that 5-year-old boy, and that 36-year-old man, both expected to recover. Of course, we'll continue to keep you posted on this investigation, as well as talking to neighbors who say they saw those dogs often roaming around this street. We'll have much more coming up tonight. Reporting live from Detroit's west side, I'm Priya Mann, Local 4.
All right, Priya, very troubling. Thank you. Meanwhile, the Michigan High School Athletic Association is discussing today the current pause on winter sports in Michigan, and they are asking to resume practice and competition for the 4 main contact sports. Let's get to Rod Maloney to break this all down for us. Rod?
Yeah, good afternoon, Rhonda. One of the things that we've picked up on this morning is that it looks like there is momentum growing to start Michigan sports sooner than the February 21st deadline. Now, we're not saying that's been decided. We're just saying that there is momentum in that direction. So let's talk a little bit about the main sports, the basketball, the wrestling, the hockey, and the competitive cheer. Those are the 4 main sports that are of concern here. And the Michigan High School Athletic Association has been talking to the MDHHS director, the new one, saying that they have had more access to her recently than they had previously with the Director Gordon, although they've had no response from the governor directly. But the MHSAA says that it is not aware of the information that we're going to give you now, because there's another group called Let Them Play Michigan. Let Them Play Michigan has been threatening a lawsuit, and in fact we expected that to have been filed in the last couple of days. But let me show you the statement now from Let Them Play Michigan that we received this morning. And it says, quote, "We have been having productive conversations with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. We remain hopeful that a lawsuit will not be necessary, and the State Health Department will recognize the science and data that supports immediate resumption of high school athletics." And what that really means is that those talks are ongoing, and that they're saying they could file the lawsuit if they don't get anywhere, but they're withholding that lawsuit as a way to try and get sports started more quickly. So let's hear from the director. His name is Mark Ewell from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. He's the executive director. And what he had to say about the hearings yesterday in Lansing that the legislature held, trying to push the governor toward changing this date for high school sports.
It's about health and safety, and certainly COVID's a part of that, but mental health is an awfully big key component of this as well. You look at what our numbers are, you look at what's going on in other states. School-based sports has not been these super spreader events. It certainly wasn't in our experience in the fall and what other states are doing in the winter. That data is simply not there.
And that's what he is saying about the governor, where she says she's using data. And he says, no, their data says that high school sports actually are a good thing, then they're not a problem. And in fact, he noted that they've had 30,000 tests given in the fall, and he said 99.8 of those were negative. And so we're going to have to wait and see what the Department of Health and Human Services has to say about all of this. I have reached out to MDHHS to try and figure out precisely their response to this and whether we might actually see an earlier date for the resumption of high school sports. We'll stay on this all afternoon. We'll have the full update coming up on Local 4 News at 5. Reporting live in Southfield, Rod Maloney, Local 4.
All right, Rod, thank you. We do want to get to breaking news out of Detroit's west side. Several homes have been evacuated near the Southfield Freeway, just north of Ford Road. The Detroit Fire Department the city water department said that it hit a 2-inch gas main there. DTE is now on the scene working to cap it. And Brandon is standing by to talk about how cold it is and also the snow that's headed our way for the weekend. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Rhonda. Absolutely beautiful sunshine, as we saw in Rod's live shot. And this view of the sun may feel a little bit different. Looking from the Penobscot camera downtown to the chunks of ice coming down in the Detroit River. Hey, a freighter battling through that ice, but good-looking skies. Temps already warmer than what we saw yesterday. Problem is that west-northwest wind, that's 7 to 12 miles an hour. 23, 24 degrees, drops about 10 degrees into the lower and middle teens for wind chills. We're getting up to 27, 28 degrees today with a few clouds, especially in our north zone. As we come back with your main weather, we're going to talk about frostbite concerns over the next couple of days and Sunday snow totals. That's straight ahead, Rhonda.
All right, a lot to talk about. We'll see you here in a few, Brandon. Meanwhile, the United States will be one step closer to getting a third coronavirus vaccine. Johnson & Johnson says that data from a late-stage trial shows its single-dose vaccine works against COVID-19. The phase 3 trial involved more than 44,000 adults from 8 different countries, including the U.S. The company says that phase 3 trial data shows its vaccine is 85% effective at preventing severe disease. However, on a global scale, the vaccine was only 66% effective in preventing moderate and severe disease, even less effective against the South African variant of the virus. But having a vaccine is better than not having one at all. On the vaccine front, the city of Detroit doing pretty well, announcing it is now tripling the number of weekly vaccinations and has expanded eligibility now to city residents in Detroit 65 years of age and older. You have to have an appointment. To book the appointment with the city, you call this number on your screen. Apparently, they have about 80 operators there to answer calls. 313-230-0505 is the number to call. And this comes as the state is reporting more than 1,800 new cases, along with 80 more lives lost. And we will get the latest update of the last 24 hours this afternoon on COVID cases and death tolls. The first cases of the South African COVID variant have now reached the United States. The mutant virus is believed to be more contagious and possibly more dangerous than the first one. We have NBC's Craig Melvin reporting from Charleston.
It's been hailed as a potential game changer in the fight against COVID-19. A single shot from Johnson & Johnson. This morning, the company revealing its phase 3 trial in the U.S. found the vaccine is 72% effective in preventing moderate to severe symptoms 4 weeks after vaccination, adding protection starts as early as 2 weeks after receiving the shot.
It either stops you from getting COVID or it helps you, if you get COVID, have a much milder version of COVID.
The pharma giant saying it will file for emergency use authorization in the coming week, which could mean approval by the end of February. If it's greenlit by the FDA, it would be the first single-dose COVID vaccine on the market.
This vaccine is going to be important for people who either don't want to get a second shot, can't come back for the second shot, or live in rural and remote areas where it's difficult to get the vaccine to them.
However, the vaccine was found to be just 57% effective when tested in South Africa. That's where a new highly contagious variant made up nearly all cases. That concerning mutation is now on U.S. soil. 2 cases have been identified here in South Carolina. The patients reporting no history of travel or connection to one another. Officials in the state urging everyone to be on alert.
The arrival of COVID-19, of any COVID-19 variant in South Carolina, including this one, is yet another reminder that the fight against this deadly virus is far from over.
Health officials say it is highly likely that the new strain from South Africa isn't just present here in South Carolina. It's likely present in other parts of the country. Health officials say more genomic testing will be needed to determine its prevalence. Meanwhile, Johnson & Johnson optimistic that if they get emergency use authorization, they'll be able to start getting their vaccine out by the end of February.
Thank you, Craig. Still to come here on your Friday, more relief. President Biden is putting the pressure on Congress and hoping for bipartisan support, while Democrats are pledging to push ahead with or without the other side of the aisle.